Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the WHOLESTIC Method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey guys, this is Debbie Potts, your host and friend of the Whole Athlete Podcast and the author of Life is Not a Race, It is a Journey, and the WHOLESTIC Method Manual Workbook that are both available on Amazon. And today, on this Thursday episode of Real Thoughts with Debbie Potts, I'm going to dive into what functional diagnostic nutrition is about, as I do believe it can help a lot of athletes that are overtrained and under-recovered and not feeling their typical energetic self, as I once was one of these people back in 2013. And until this past year, 2019, I am finally feeling more energetic and not feeling like I'm taking one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back. And it's this continuous journey that I am on because of my personality and ways to do too much in life. And I am going to start upping my volume of exercise as I have this year with cycling and starting to up my mileage running. And I am really aware of those red flags that I once had that I want to share with you when you start adding more volume in, how to not break yourself down from the inside out. And as a FDN practitioner, we work as a health detective to resolve chronic stress-related imbalances in our bodies and our body systems get out of whack once the HPA axis is imbalanced, specifically hypothalamus, pituitary gland to adrenal gland. The relationship between those three have an impact on our entire body system. So when we have too much chronic stress, and that hormone cortisol gets activated too frequently, becomes chronic, we get issues. And cortisol, as I'll go into today, is breaking down versus the opposing hormone, DHEA, builds you up, anabolic. So we want to have this balance in all of our body systems to create what we know as homeostasis. It's that bell curve, the Goldilocks effect of not too much of this, not too little of that, just the right amount to keep in balance, or else we create dysfunction in all sorts of areas of our body. If you look at my website or blog page, look up Metabolic Chaos and the diagram showing how different imbalances can create dysfunction in all areas of our body. And it shows up differently in all of us. So my red flags of creating too much imbalance in my body system is going to show up differently than in your body. So I want to explain all this because not only am I doing this as a full-time job and starting to be a health coach for endurance athletes, those that are struggling with fatigue and weight gain and performance is going downhill in your training and racing, but also just day-to-day life activities, we should feel thriving and feel alive and have this vitality. But because of our choices we make, we have a choice to train for an endurance event, race, that requires a lot of hours per week on top of an already busy lifestyle, right? So if you have a family, you're working full time, maybe you're not working, you have kids to manage, spouse, family issues, there's all sorts of stuff all the time. So we have life stress, financial stress, but then there's also stressors in our environment, that the toxins, chemicals, pesticides, fertilizer, fungal infections. I mean, there's just the list goes on. So if you go to my website, debbiepotts.net, there are a few ebooks for you for free that I wrote the last few years about how chronic stress impacts the whole you. I wrote this year. There is a new one coming out on being a fat adapted athlete, how to train the whole athlete to avoid burnout and breakdown. And then a year ago, I did a toxins ebook. And then first one was the holistic method, the 8 secrets of resolving metabolic chaos. We say in FDN, but chronic stress disease, I call it to make it easier. Okay, so as I'm focusing on sharing what I learn and my observations and my lessons learned from my own experiences to you, because I know a lot of you listeners are similar to me, that we are a little type A and overcommit to things, and we like to be busy and successful and feeling a sense of accomplishment. Well, that's not always a good thing. We need to learn that it's okay to have little breaks in our day, pause and reset, recalibrate the whole you. And a lot of that is something I've learned the hard way. And now my life is completely different than it was, well, for sure 10 years ago when I opened my fitness studio. Even the last 5 years, I've really had to change my day-to-day schedule. Things kind of changed in my schedule naturally, organically, but I look back on, like, how am I home now working in the afternoons? I was never, ever home. I would come home and go to bed. So my new schedule is a little bit healthier for me. And my focus to help prevent you going through what I've had happen to me is what I feel like it's my purpose. Everything happens for a reason. And the reason my building's being torn down and I'm finally closing my fitness studio after 12 years, 10 years in that location, that it's just time for me to do what I'm really passionate about. And that's health coaching the endurance athletes, because we put a lot of stress on our body with the way we train. Just even volume, low heart rate. We should work out 30 to 45 minutes a few times a week, and then strength training, not doing this long distance cardio. So it's more chronic cardio. So let's go into what FDN is about. It means functional diagnostic nutrition. And Reed Davis created this program over 10 years ago based on his own experience that people weren't getting healthier in a lot of different clinics. And he noticed a huge needs gap in the standard healthcare model, that most unhealthy people entering the clinics that he was working at had seen multiple practitioners, one after another, spent thousands of dollars, I was one of those, and still hadn't reached their health goals. Some people even got worse after they tried a different practitioner. And this is a story I shared in my book, Life is Not a Race, how I went to see doctor to doctor, practitioner, naturopath, all these different people. And I was one of those stuck in what Reed Davis calls this cycle of trial and error. Reed decided he would be the last person his clients ever needed to see. So 15 years later, 10,000 lab tests he's done, and made his own observations who got better and who did not. He was really learning from his own experience watching these lab results and who were chasing the symptoms and would begin to make improvements in function and health when they stopped chasing the symptoms. So instead of treating one thing at a time and trying to work on finding the underlying cause of symptoms, that if you stop just worrying about one thing and treat everything at once, the symptoms disappeared over time. But many people complain that they're just not permanently resolved. A lot of the treatments just would get better and then return back. So kind of what we do in functional medicine world, I think a lot of people, even myself, would just get lab results and get a supplement, even it was natural, but it wasn't really fixing everything and looking at the big picture. So Reed Davis developed this FDN Practitioner program that's well established to train people as myself to be a health detective, to investigate into the causal factors and natural solutions of what we can help other people feel better from the inside out. So it's a step-by-step system to investigate the underlying causes of disease and identify healing opportunities, while the goal of what they call Dress for Health Success program, similar to my holistic method, is a specific program that we work on diet, rest, exercise, stress, and supplements, and creating an individualized program or protocol to help a client self-treat themselves to restore function and resolve those unwanted health conditions forever, ideally. So what we focus on saying a lot, or I say a lot on this show and when I write blogs and articles, is talking about metabolic chaos. As I said earlier, just what happens when we do too much in life and have that imbalance, right? So we just love to do more and don't always stop and listen to our body, what it's saying when, oh, that's not a good time to do a workout. I'm already kind of tired, but I'm going to do it anyways because it's on my schedule. So what I've found when I'm coaching athletes is getting them to have intuition of when they need to take a break, when they need to reschedule a workout, and listen to your body. So you're not going to go do a garbage workout session. So metabolic chaos, I'll get my notes up here for you so I say it all right. The human individual, ourselves, we the people, maintain health and vitality through a phenomenal orchestration of our cells. Our body's pretty amazing. If you do programs that as I have done, nutritional therapy and doing this FDN program, it's just pretty crazy what our body does on its own. It has its own innate intelligence in every cell. So our body's made up of cells, which make up tissues, which make up organs into our body systems. And then we have this balance with the fluids and gases and chemistry and energy that runs on instructions from our body, its own innate intelligence. The sum of these activities and chemical reactions and the inherent of programs they run on is called metabolism. They're functioning properly. Metabolic processes work in harmony to maintain homeostasis and balance. While there is some flexibility in the operating ranges of the processes, as a loss of homeostasis in one area or system may cascade into other areas. So kind of like a domino effect. Cascade of events will happen if one thing is out. Domino effect. And eventually produce the symptoms one is experiencing, have these random symptoms as I've had, but they often can be far removed from the critical system that's actually failing. So if I'm having a skin rash, I call it skin disease, in my ear or on my scalp, well, it doesn't mean I need to take supplement from dermatologist to help treat that. It's perhaps looking at where is that coming from. Maybe it's gut dysfunction that I have foods that I'm allergic to or sensitive, reactive to that I'm consuming that are contributing to gut dysbiosis, to leaky gut's contributing to inflammation in my body, and all sorts of domino effects happen. So I end up with skin rash on your body. So just don't treat the symptoms. Look for what's going on and what's in balance. So those are the hidden stressors we talk about. Those hormones, immune, digestion, detoxification, these stressors are internally, something's going on off balance. We don't often know what is out of whack unless we get some lab testing, right? So we don't know that I have leaky gut. We don't know that I have blastohominous bacteria in my small intestines. I don't know. I can't tell, but maybe I'm I've been feeling more tired, and maybe I'm not sleeping at night. These are things that happened to me back in 2013. So if one dysfunction builds up on another, depending on your individual weak links in metabolism, your vital voids, Reed says, all manner of diseases and symptoms may occur. So if these hidden stressors or malfunctions in one area are left unchecked or not corrected in the body, it'll cascade downstream into other areas. So you just don't know. But observing that the exact same symptom or cluster of disease and symptoms found in myself and many people will react differently in another person. So even though the originating malfunction or balance had occurred entirely in the same spot, it might be different in you. So anyways, the phrase metabolic chaos, cascade of events, to helps explain all this, just this kind of domino effect that just happened to me and happens to a lot of other people, but they just don't know it. So we're going to go into how we can help those imbalances or dysfunctions and working on identifying those vital voids in metabolism, as they vary per person, as we're all individuals. Our genetics are different, our lifestyle, our stresses, how we react to stresses, what we eat, it's always different in each person. So there is no one size fits all approach. Your health complaints may stem from one or a few imbalances or malfunctions in your body, but they're not directly connected to the symptoms you are feeling. But as we do in FDN as a practitioner, we help investigate and assess the underlying causes that can stop you from using Band-Aids and just treat that symptom, putting a Band-Aid on it by taking, as I said, a medication, and just give you temporary relief, and then it's still going to happen again, right? So it's just, you go back and renew your prescription, you think you're on that for years, and that's just how life is for you, right? Well, this struggle is real, but you don't have to feel like crap, and you don't have to deal with that problem. You can figure out some alternative methods by looking at the whole you, by getting these functional labs done. It's pretty amazing information what we can uncover. So these hidden stressors you don't know about unless you do lab testing are contributing to your metabolic chaos. They're downgrading your health, and they're creating that domino effect. So we don't want to guess, we want to test. And then when we can identify your healing opportunities with the lab testing and looking at your history, we can individualize the protocol for you to improve your function of your body systems. So we don't treat one thing, we treat everything at once. So in time, improvements are made, the true healing can occur. And you self-treat. We're not telling you that we're going to do it for you. You need to do this program. So it's healing, but a self-healing, self-treating program, because you are the one that needs to choose when you're going to bed, how you're doing your sleep rituals at night to calm down and chill out, what you're eating, when you're eating, how you're eating. No one can do that for you but you. So I think a lot of people just want to take this magic pill and don't want to do the work, because doing these lifestyle changes, the Dress for Health Success program, and in my holistic method elements I talk about, it's all about you making that choice to change, as I had to do, and it took me a few years to finally make some drastic changes in my life to help heal and rebuild me, myself, my body from the inside out. No one else could do it for me. You have to stop chasing symptoms and being stuck in the trial of error, just looking for that magic supplement that's just going to fix you. Well, even if you take, say, a liver detox supplement with a binder, well, if you continue putting environmental toxins and chemicals in the air of your house, on your skin, breathing in your car, your workplace, you're still going to be overfilled with toxins. If you keep eating foods that are processed and filled with chemicals, you still are going to have overloaded toxic body system. So you have to make the changes, and that's what we'll do together as I work with clients, health coaching for 90 days or longer. But there's changes we have to make if we want to get healthier. Improve your performance, but look at the long run. Longevity is what we want to work on, right? So the adrenals are not just called adrenal stress, adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion. As I've said many times, it's called HPA axis dysregulation. And we talk about function and dysfunction. And we often do too much in life, have too many external stressors and internal hidden stressors. So those all accumulate into what we say in nutritional therapy is your beaker of stress. That beaker starts to overfill. Too many sources of stress coming from outside of your world and inside your body. Too much of anything causes dysfunction, right? So if we have too much chronic stressors, including what you're eating, the chemicals, the lotions you put on, the fragrances you have in your house, your laundry, the environmental stuff, as well as chemicals in your food and your meat. And if you are going crazy at work, you have financial stress, you're having trouble with your coworkers, your family, your kids are stressing out, they all add up. So what we do, one of the lab tests, is a stress and hormone profile. So we can measure through saliva your cortisol, the main stress hormone we talk often about, DHEA, estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, and melatonin. As you know, hormone balance is very essential to good health, and the adrenal glands, the HPA axis, is the center of that relationship in the body's ability to regulate hormones. So a lot of people talk about low thyroid, and then they get thyroid medication. That's a whole nother show, but I want to bring up right now that when you have thyroid energy issues, I would start looking with a health coach or practitioner at these labs as this hormone panel or the Dutch panel. This is a BioHealth 205 lab that we use, or I'll start using Dutch lab test as well, that we can look at your hormone panel, all these main ones, to see where there might be dysfunction. So if the HP axis is dysfunction, these other domino effect will help it happen as well in your body system, including your thyroid. So with the BioHealth 205 lab we do, it's 4 saliva tests during the day. So we get the circadian rhythm of your cortisol. So you go when you wake up, afternoon, mid-afternoon, and evening. And we take those 4 samples of the day and we get a nice overview of the stress throughout your day, because cortisol levels go higher in the morning and then they lower at night in opposition of melatonin. So think sunrise, sunset, the energy levels of your body. Cortisol gives us the energy. But again, we want that right amount, that Goldilocks effect of not too high, not too low. So there's a range that we look at that we want to be in, and we use not lab results ranges. We use FDN recommended ranges that are based on healthy people. Because if you look at those lab results, the ranges that you get from doctors' offices, they're based on the average sick person, not your optimal healthy person you want to be striving for. So I love that FDN has their own ranges that are very smaller, narrower, and gonna give me more of that optimum. Here's where I want to be. I don't want to base my good, average, or below average based on a sick person. I want to be healthy and be my best version of myself. So that's what these labs will do. We'll look at the FDN ranges where we want to be and get kind of an overview of hormones and get insights and information what needs to be done. And we'll track those hormone levels and work on our health building process. Now, the next test we do is a metabolic assessment profile that I wrote a big blog on. This test is a great one, especially for athletes. And we don't do one of these tests because it doesn't really make sense. We do 5 labs, and I'm just going to talk about 3 of them today. But the metabolic assessment profile measures the levels of your indican, lipid peroxides, and urinary bile acids in your urine. So it's a urine test you can do at home. It involves analysis of a single sample, giving us critical data to help improve your health and function. So what's great about this test, I think, is nice to find out how you digest your protein and how our oxidative stress is on our body, if it's balanced, and with bile, your digestive ability for protein or for fat, So the vital information for recommending self-care protocols and healthy lifestyle modifications are going to get from these labs. An index of general digestion metabolism by assessing protein digestion using the Indican test, and then a value of oxidative damage caused by free radical activity, which is increased with eating a high-carb diet and high exercise. So if you haven't switched to a low-carb, high-fat diet, more ketogenic, that you may want to look at that if you're still doing long workouts, chronic cardio training for Ironman marathons. We need to really look at the oxidative damage we're creating on our cells. So this lab test will help guide our antioxidant usage while helping assess our underlying conditions. And then this test also will help look at our liver function. Are we able to detoxify properly and eliminate phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification and the circulation of our bile, our urinary bile acids? And then one more test I'll talk about today is our GI intestinal permeability test, basically leaky gut. So this test is a single urine collection to assess recovery of sugar molecules that you drink in this water mix. Lactulose are the larger molecules that we're seeing if they get through the villi, to the sides of the villi, and then mannitol are molecules that are smaller, and we want to see if they are absorbed through the villi themselves. So healthy function of the intestinal barrier is an essential to disease prevention and overall optimal health. On the front lines in defending the body, the mucosal layer is the surface barrier of the GI tract and can be exposed to a multitude of stressors, antigens and inflammatory foods, pathogens, imbalance of our neurotransmitters, toxins, and medications. These can weaken and break down the protective barrier that we have in our gut wall lining, the small intestine. So it's a mucosal layer. And all these different things that we do to damage it, we really don't want it broken down. So I think as your gut, as there's a bunch of an army, your protective wall surrounding the castle, and you don't want to get the enemies coming through that wall, and they have to be there to protect us, that line of defense. So if we don't have our line of defense working, they get weak and break down, the protective barrier breaks down. So this lab test we can do is to measure the integrity of the gut mucosal barrier. Leaky gut is what is really the easier word than intestinal permeability, and your malabsorption. If you have leaky gut, food's seeping through that shouldn't, and we're not absorbing the nutrients from our food, so we get malnourished. And then also we can find if there's damage to the layers of mucosal layers called villus atrophy and crypt hyperplasia, so damage to that gut wall lining. These 3 flagship labs that we do, you can do all at home, are really important because they assess the function of your fundamental systems of your body, including hormone, immune, digestion, and detoxification. Together, they help us assess metabolic chaos and identify your healing opportunities, as that's very individualized, and the lab test will make this program more individualized. If any of these systems are malfunctioning or out of balance, a cascade of health issues can arise, causing a myriad of symptoms and state of disease. This is how we get into the underlying cause. So then we do your lab tests. The other ones that we do are the GI pathogen screening, and then food sensitivity lab, MRT. And we can use those 5 functional labs to really help your investigation to make you improve your performance and longevity. And then we can figure out your protocol. So we use the Dress for Health Success program, figuring out your nutrition, eating real foods, working on getting enough sleep, and getting your exercise in the right amount. Now, most of you need to do less exercise, not more, and maybe lower heart rate and appropriate timing of your HIIT training. And then making sure you have a better sleep hygiene routine, because a lot of people go to bed too late and they don't sleep through the night. Well, working on that is what we can easily do once we identify sensitive foods in your diet and change what you're eating and when you're eating and how you're eating it. And doing some more intermittent fasting, I believe, really helps all of this as well. And then supplementation, what you need to help reset and reboot and recalibrate the whole you from the inside out. So you can find more on my blog page, debbiepotts.net, and I would love to hear from you. So send me your questions and comments of what you'd like to hear about on the show and what you'd like to learn more about. Or perhaps you'd like to come on the show and talk about the success that you have had as an athlete, changing to a low-carb athlete and working on your performance gains without creating dysfunction in your body. Or maybe you have had that and you're starting to feel better and you want to just share your story. Or we just come on the show and chat, hang out with me. So I'm doing my Thursday episodes alone. So if you want to join me sometime, just send me an email on the website, debbiepotts.net. And we've got the Facebook page is Low Carb Athlete. Instagram is my Low Carb Athlete handle as well. And then the Whole Athlete Podcast Facebook page, which I'd like to figure out how to just put it all into one page, not have 3 pages, because it's, more is not better. Less is more for that aspect of my life. Social media, I only can handle too much without spending hours and getting sucked into checking who liked your message and who made a comment and how many likes did you get. It's very stressful to me. So that's better for me to have just one page and hope everything grows organically and not get psycho about checking your inbox, right? It's annoying. So I'm out. I'm going to go for my bike ride and a little run, and I'm going to keep in my 120 to 130 heart rate range and maybe do some hills today so I get my heart rate up and then recover on the downhill so I get my HIIT training. And then I'm going to go for a 30-40 minute run right afterwards and take advantage of this sunny day before the Seattle weather changes for the fall-winter season. So get outside and enjoy some fresh air today for yourself, and I will talk to you next week. Hope you enjoy the show. Please send any comments you have and write a review on the iTunes for us so we can help grow the show and help other people improve performance and longevity while avoiding breakdown and burnout. Train the whole athlete from the inside out with the Holistic Method.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.